You all know all about the unemployment insurance bill. This is a really terrific product. This problem started in 2001. And as you know, Indiana had an upside-down system when we were at full employment. So it was going to have to be fixed sometime. That all was made dramatically worse by the recession, and so it was really urgent that it be fixed. And we have fixed it, or the legislature has, in a balanced way. Higher premiums to be paid by businesses, correction, I think, of some quirks in our benefit system that led to some of the highest benefits in America. And so in a balanced way, we are fixing a system. It'll be in balance next year, and it will steadily pay back the debts it's accumulated over the next several years. So it's a great piece of work. Senators Hirschman and Boots and Representative Leonard deserve special mention. There were so many other people who participated, but just to name three, I will thank them. I guarantee you this is the first bill of this or any session I'm signing left-handed, so this is going to take a minute. I've been practicing, but you're going to have to bear with. I've been advised that, however illegible, this is still a legal signature. There, can you read that? Yeah. Okay, all right, I thought you could. Let me make just one further point, and I think it is an important one. This bill, this essential, important, and mainstream bill, is one of the demands that Mr. Bauer and his caucus made before they would return to their state from Illinois. It is one of several very important mainstream bills that they say have to be killed before they'll come back and do their duty. That list includes the budget. That list includes, ironically, at least three bills I can point to here: charter schools, school deregulation, and the takeover of poorly performing schools that President Obama would vote for if he were an Indiana member of the if he were a member of the Indiana House. So I just want to make the point that we are not backing off of this agenda. The right to work legislation, which touched off the entirely legitimate protests of the last few days here, is dead. It won't be heard from again, and those who felt that it was a bad idea or premature or both have been successful. But important, progressive reforms like these on this list of demands will not be casualties of the same process. And so we intend to do what it takes to see that the rest of this agenda, which a very large majority of Hoosiers voted for just 3 months ago, is not killed by the willfulness of the minority that lost that election.
Would you be doing a public bill signing today if this bill was not on that list?
I probably would have waited until the authors could have been here. This is, again, this is very important. I did ask the authors if it was okay to move today and not wait till we could arrange a ceremony. This is one that probably merited it. Maybe we'll do something ceremonial later. But no, I thought it was important to make a point, first of all, that we're not about to be run off of an agenda that we believe we committed to, a perfectly reasonable and mainstream agenda, and for that reason I thought we'd just move promptly.
But procedurally it didn't have to be signed today. Isn't this just prodding the Democrats to stay away longer?
I hope it will prod them, remind them how preposterous the notion is that the demands on this list are anything but mainstream. A lot of absurd things have been said by Mr. Bauer and his flock the last few days. The most absurd of all, and it's a stiff competition, is that somehow these are radical proposals. Well, tell it to President Obama, who supports a whole lot of them. Tell it to the taxpayers who like the idea of a budget that controls spending and does not raise their taxes. Tell it to those who've been asking us to fix the unemployment system for a long time. The only thing radical is the idea of taking a public paycheck and heading to a swimming pool in Illinois and walking off the job from important business like this.
I don't think anybody doubts that the unemployment system can be fixed and that these are the kinds of changes that have to be made. But they are major increases in taxes for businesses, and they are some benefits cuts for workers. Do you have any concern about what this bill might mean for the business industry, for the industry at all, or the economy?
Zero. No, we've been looking at this closely for a long time. Even after these premiums, unemployment insurance in Indiana will still be very affordable relative to our competition. Secondly, it's a surprisingly small piece of the overall cost of doing business. When you add it into all the taxes the government imposes, workers' compensation and other items, it's a pretty small piece. These changes, and we've looked closely, will not move our ranking even one place as a low tax, low cost business state. We're now ranked, depending who does it, always in the top 10, and we'll stay there. So it's a good question, and we ask the same question, but it was necessary to have a system in which premiums and benefits were in some balance, and I think it was appropriate that we worked on it from both ends. You know, Leslie, looking at it the other way, the alternative would have been to cut benefits a whole lot more than this bill did. And some might have been for that, but we were for a more or less a half and half approach.
There's talk of federal action to address some of these same problems on behalf of all the states. Is there a potential that this is premature?
It's actually overdue. You know, I think this problem, I wish we'd have been able to get to a complete solution last year as it began to emerge. But no, I mean, if the feds do something, we may have some adjustment or there may have some impact on this. But I thought Indiana ought to solve its own problems right now. The suggestions, by the way, made in Washington, as I understand it, are dead on arrival. They have very limited chance of happening. And we just don't wait around out here on Washington to solve a problem. Their track record of doing it isn't very good.
Governor, and walkouts in the past generally have finally been resolved by a rather small change on somebody's part. In 2001, the Democrats made one precinct and one legislative district better, and the Republicans came back. In the 90s, Democrats came back when they dropped the midstream redistricting in favor of tiebreaker law in 50-50. So I wondered if you think that's what it'll come down to this time, some rather small change that will end all this, or do you think it'll be something bigger?
Well, I don't know, but I hope in fact that it's the former case. I think we have a proven track record of being willing to listen to adjustments and to propose compromises, but you know, we're not, as I said yesterday, nothing to talk about till they come back to work. And then if they've got a suggestion. I mean, there's been one change, and it's not a small one. The right to work bill is dead. So that's a very, very large change already in hand. And as as the history you just reminded us of shows, in many, many cases, that would have been enough. Not sure why it isn't right now.
Have the Democrats approached you about any changes in the voucher proposal before the walkout? Had there been any serious discussion about things that might happen with the voucher bill to make it more acceptable?
No.
Governor, you said yesterday that you'd be willing to call a special session to get a vote on the education reforms.
Well, all of the missing items, but yes,
right.
yeah.
But specifically about the education reforms, if those are approved, where do those rank among the accomplishments that you've seen as governor?
It's too early to answer that question. I mean, and it's as is entirely appropriate. The bills, several of them have changed already several times, moving through the process, and presuming we get a process going again, I expect they'll change some more. So I'd have to wait and see what they finally look like. I guess, Kevin, the best I can do for today is to say that Indiana education, we believe, can be and must be improved, can be much, much better. We want to be a leadership state in the way in what our kids learn. And this combination of bills, if it's a reasonable facsimile of what's been proposed, I think has the potential to do that. And if we can do that, it will rank very high among all the things that have happened in the last several years. It will have long-term benefits that may be incalculable, certainly in the lives of individual kids, but also in the economic life of our state. It'll probably rank up there in terms of long-term effect with permanent property tax reduction, with major moves, building $4 billion of roads and bridges we never would have had, with things like that that'll be there a long time after you can't remember who was governor back now.
The Senate has approved the P3 bill.
Uh-huh.
Why is that bill needed for work on the bridges?
Well, there might have been some other way, but this is, if you want to build the bridges with some certainty and you want to build them as fast as possible, that bill was extraordinarily valuable and necessary, thanks to the legislators who brought it about.
You don't think that it was possible for the state to go ahead and go forward with tolling without legislative approval?
I can't say there was no way to do it, but having clarity in these rules is always important anyway, Leslie, and especially when you're trying to get a lot of people to bid. Now, last week we had 800 people in a room. There's a lot of interest in projects like this. And that interest is maximized when people don't have any doubts that a project's going forward and that, for instance, that the state will have the authority to make the kind of agreement that it seeks to make.
Governor, may I ask, are there any bills that where I'm part of this, that you're concerned about the direction they're going, since the reform bill, for example, costs have escalated?
Yeah. No, sure. We talked about some yesterday, Maureen, and there are a number of our high priority bills which have either been modified or, in a couple cases, at least for now, defeated. And but in general, but for the walkout, I think we were proceeding pretty well. You never expect, I never do, to get 100% of those things you think are right, but I think we were on a pretty darn good track, assuming but somebody tore up the tracks.